the rotation of the Earth,
Mars,
or what it was. It was.
Well, we kind of went a
shorter
different way
flight.
too, because we went when we went to Vegas, we kind of did like a around Florida kind of thing.
But did you notice that the average speed on the flight?
God.
We were going 300. We were going 300, about 300 miles an hour, 35,000 feet, obviously about the altitude. But we were going 600 miles an hour, going in a different direction and about the same altitude.
It was like 633 was like the highest I saw. I was like, holy fuck!
But I think I remember reading reading up on that flights seem to be shorter going from the west to the east coast versus east to the west coast. I think I don't know. I think I read that. Speaking of Spirit, the only time Spirit is really handy is if you have those flights going to New York City or Washington or that hour to 2 hour flight.
Yep.
Like you said, bring your backpack, bring a change of clothes, and all your
we're looking at a
necessities.
2 hour flight at that point.
That's
you know what I
fine.
mean? Right. As opposed to a 6 or 7 hour drive or some shit.
I would never do a Spirit.
Personally, I would rather make the drive, though, to be honest with you. Like, we went out to Albany for a foosball tournament, and there were a few people who flew. But, they were pissed. They hated the flight. They didn't, all they did was complain about it. And me and the people that I drove down there with had a blast. We laughed the whole time down there, laughed the whole way back. We had a blast. So, I'd rather drive.
I'm kind of one of those people that, we've gone down to Atlantic City. And we're like, oh, yeah, the flights are only like $100. And I'm like, I'll drive.
Right. Might as well.
I'll drive the 7 hours down.
Yeah. You hate it once you're halfway through it, but...
we stopped, too, so...
That is the nice thing about driving, especially into, to New York City or New York or New Jersey. Anything within the 4 to 6 hour drive time, if you do the multiple stops, it's not so bad. It really isn't. I don't know. Once again, our phone number is 603-217-5400.
Bloody Marys. Oof.
I'm sorry. What about the Bloody Marys?
I smoke Bloody Marys.
It's coming out of Bernie's skin.
Yeah, it's
literally
literally
still smelling
permeating
it?
out of your pores.
Wow. I think I'm gonna have a Bloody Mary tonight at McGarvey's.
I think I'm gonna have
I
some
will be at
more,
McGarvey's tonight. By the way,
buffalo
I
chicken
will be hosting karaoke tonight. So
keep all your fingertips nice and close, buddy.
wow.
Timmy!
We love you, Tim.
McGarvey's. Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about how that place has gone straight down the shitter. Or no, we can't because you guys are still employees there. But just a real quick side note. I'm walking out of the Rover. I think yesterday, day before yesterday. And just throwing it out there that McGarvey's has become literally the laughing stock of the bars downtown right now. All right? And so I run into anybody and McGarvey's comes up and there's jokes about stabbings. You probably shouldn't be joking about stabbings, but it's kind of funny. There's jokings about stabbings. There's jokings about people being overserved. There's jokes about now people having their fingers bitten off, which sucks because Tim's a cool guy. Everybody that knows Tim knows that he's the shit. And if there's one bouncer in the state of New Hampshire that doesn't deserve that kind of shit, it's Tim.
He really is the coolest guy.
He's the most level-headed, fun to talk to, just chill motherfucker on the planet. He did not deserve that. But irrelevant to whether or not he did or didn't deserve it, so I'm coming out of the bathroom at the Rover, and somebody says something about McGarvey's, and everybody in the bathroom, it was a packed bathroom, everybody starts laughing, and it's all this back and forth like jokes about McGarvey's. And this one guy said something that I thought was funny, where apparently now they ask you whether or not you're packing, how many knives you're carrying on you. One of the regulars in McGarvey's posted on Facebook that this was a new question that he had been asked as he was walking into McGarvey's. One of the bouncers had asked him, how many knives do you have on you?
It was a new bouncer, though.
Yeah, it was a new bouncer who didn't know that he's a regular. And amusingly enough, this is someone who actually does regularly carry about 3 or 4 knives on them. So he was like, well, I have a butterfly in here, and I have a, this switchblade here, I have this, whatever. So, but the joke was, as I was coming out, somebody said, well, I guess now they ask you how many knives you're carrying on you. And the guy says, no, the new question ought to be, do you file your teeth? Because of Tim having his finger bitten off. But what I'm saying is that it's kind of interesting to me how all it takes is a number of incidents or incidences to happen within a short span of time. And frankly, McGarvey's has had a number of incidences occur over a short period of time. It wasn't that long ago that a dude that what's his face had to tackle some dude because he tried to stab a cop. That happened at McGarvey's.
Well,
you know
no,
what I
Well,
mean?
it didn't happen in McGarvey's.
no,
It happened
it happened
outside of
out-
It happened
McGarvey's.
outside of
It was-
McGarvey's.
it was
happened
actually
right out
in-
front of McGarvey's.
It was in the road
Right.
of, like, in between
Right. Well,
Nooch and...
then Davey shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been intervened at all. Then,
Well,
frankly,
okay,
as far as
so-
I'm concerned, he shouldn't have intervened at all.
Well,
McGarvey's
okay.
isn't paying him to do that.
No, he actually did it because he's friends with
Yes, I
he's
understand
friends
that.
with the officer and saw the guy
Yeah.
coming up behind him,
Right, right.
knowing that he was dealing with somebody else.
Right. This is all irrelevant to my point, though. The point is that you have a number of things that occur all within a short period of time, and you begin to develop a reputation. You know that quickly. That's all it takes. To now, where, as I said, you go anywhere right now. Now, eventually they're going to shake it off. People are going to forget about this crap as long as there aren't a bunch of other incidences that occur between, from tonight. There's not another thing that happens next weekend and another thing that happens the weekend after that. But frankly, what I've been noticing is there's been a lot of things that seem to be occurring there each and every weekend. Now, in fairness, I should be honest, and I'm not allowed at McGarvey's, so I am somewhat biased to being sort of gleeful in hearing that this sort of stuff's going on. Knowing that you guys work there regularly, of course, I don't want you guys to be in a situation that's potentially unsafe for you guys, obviously. And I want McGarvey's to thrive because they are a good customer of yours. And you guys obviously do well there. You've been there a long time. You guys are the reason they get voted number one for karaoke. The reason they get voted number one every year for the best karaoke in Manchester. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie and say that I don't take a certain amount of personal pleasure when I hear about the ridiculous crap that goes on there. And quite frankly, it doesn't surprise me, and you guys will have to agree to this, it doesn't surprise me that kind of ridiculous bullshit happens there because of the crowd. I mean, that's the place, and we've all talked about this, that's the place people go at the end of the night. You've got people that are going to all these different bars, and in Manchester now, you can't throw a rock in downtown Manchester and not hit a bar. So you've got all these options, all these people going to all these options, and at the end of the night, they all seem to, many of them, not they all, but many of them seem to go to McGarvey's. So they've been consuming copious amounts of alcohol throughout the course of the evening anyway, and then they go to McGarvey's. So is that McGarvey's fault? No, but I think something needs to either change or something needs to happen because there's just too many things. I mean, we were at Whiskey 21 yesterday. Yeah, I know it's horrible to admit, but nobody got stabbed, or that I know of. I mean, I didn't get stabbed, but nobody got stabbed. The cops weren't called. There wasn't a presence of 14 police cars in front of the place like there was the other night, or just 2 or 3 weeks ago at McGarvey's. You know what I mean? Where they literally had what seemed like the entirety of Elm Street filled with police cars over the Davy stuff. But again, that didn't necessarily happen at McGarvey's. But the point is, something needs to happen where, I don't know, something needs to change.
I mean, I will say that a lot of the things that I've been seeing, and it's not just McGarvey's, it's Whiskey 21, it's a lot of the bars is they are cracking down. If you are stumbling coming in,
right,
they don't care now if you're with a party of 30.
Right.
If there's one person that is completely intoxicated,
Yeah.
everybody's out.
That's got to be a much more adhered to rule, because I'll tell you what, I have seen some seriously fucking drunk people get served at bars all over Manchester. I'm one of them. No, for real though, I have seen people who there's no goddamn way they should be getting served again. And frankly, I don't really necessarily have too big of a problem with the idea of, if you are with this group of 5 and you are clearly blitzed with the party being shut down. You know what I mean? I really don't have a problem with that. And here's why. if you and 5 people go out, and you guys are all going from bar to bar to bar, you're all friends, it is somewhat the responsibility of all 5 of you to be looking out for all 5 of you. And they can't, no, listen, they can't guarantee, the bar can't, nor should they guarantee, that if you 5 come in, one of you is so hammered you could barely walk, we don't serve that person. There's no guarantee that one of the 4 people aren't going to get a drink and give it to that person.
Right.
And we've
they can't, bar can't guarantee that. You know what I mean? So
before we went on vacation, we actually saw that they had, you know, it was actually a bachelor party. There was probably like 15 of them.
Mm-hmm.
There was one kid that was completely hammered. They shut him off, but allowed, you know, the group to stay there.
Sure.
And said, listen, we'll allow you to stay.
Right.
He cannot have any more.
Right.
And the next thing I know, I turned around and I actually saw him taking other people's drinks.
Right, of course.
And I was like,
right. You know, that's how the party gets thrown out. But the bar can't, I mean, you can't, how are you supposed to keep track of that? How are you supposed to be looking at every single person that's got a drink in their hand? You know what I mean? Like, the only other way to do it is to be like, okay, you're hammered, we're not going to kick you out, but we're going to, like, hit you with a paintball or something. You know what I mean? Like some identifier that makes it obvious that like if you
dunce hat.
Yeah, like a dunce hat. Oh, that'd be awesome. Exactly. You have to wear the dunce hat. Here's the deal. You can stay here in the bar. You take the dunce hat off, you're out. If you take a sip of alcohol while wearing that dunce hat, you're out. And your whole party's out, you know? But something that identifies this person as already shut off, you know, so that if that person is spotted by any of the staff taking a sip of alcohol or something, but the bars aren't doing that, man. They're too fucking busy. Especially, you guys know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night.
yeah.
They're too goddamn busy.
The regulars that walk in hammered.
This is
Right, that's a good point. There's plenty of them.
And this
No,
is,
it's a great point.
I guess this is one of the things that I mentioned earlier on the show is not to compare Vegas to Manchester, but when you have 24 hours of drinking that can exist in a city, that cannot be experienced in Manchester just because of the problems that Manchester has.
Right.
Now, one thing I can definitely tell you is that McGarvey's has stepped up the way that they do business. If you notice, they've hired some more security personnel. They've been told different things on what to look for and what not to look for as well. So the no tolerance policy that has been established, and I'm saying no tolerance, has been existent now for a few days. We'll see what's going to happen.
Okay.
Every bar in Manchester has some sort of reputation just because it's a bar.
Mm-hmm.
Whiskey's has had their problems the last 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
I know Tom very well. Good friend of mine. He's always...
Somebody was just murdered at Central Ale House, dude, in the alley at Central Ale House. That was like 4 weeks ago. I'm not saying that McGarvey's is a canard or that they're this outlier,
not at all.
You know? I'm just saying that too many things at the same time lead to impressions upon people's mind. But good that they're making adjustments. So what is this? What is the zero tolerance? These zero tolerance policies that they're instituting?
That they know people need to be more respectful. The people that seem people who seem slightly intoxicated will not be let into McGarvey's anymore. There's just certain things that I'm not in the liberty to say.
Okay.
Just because they want to keep McGarvey's the way that it used to be.
They have
one thing that I definitely want to say, however, what Las Vegas has that Manchester doesn't is there is law enforcement personnel in every bar within Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You'll see the security people talking to the law enforcement people. There are police presence there and security presence, and that's the one thing that we don't have in Manchester. Granted, it just seems like every time the Manchester Police Department is there, they're only there when they're called upon, and I think that we need to have the police departments in all of the cities roam around at 12 o'clock, at 1 o'clock at night, like they do during the day. They do their patrols, but I also think that they need to start having more presence out there
At night.
at night,